Hey, Marlies,
Well, good morning, Julia.
how
This
are
is
you
so
today?
I am good. So excited that we're going
I
to be trying
know.
something new.
I'm so thrilled. It's like it's going to be so much fun. So before we bring our guests, our first guest and
Hmm.
co-host,
Yep.
I want to just give some reminders to people. I'm going to be sharing my screen here just to show where we're at.
Hmm.
Um, okay, here we go. So, our trade show, our virtual trade show is happening right now from 12 to 2. You can visit all the fabulous booths and vendors that are on right now. So, everybody is either live or has a link to their Facebook page or their actual website where you can browse and see all the product and purchase. So you just go on the map. It's at theseeker.ca/women-day-show. And then just navigate through it. You can also just go to theseeker.ca. There's a big banner there. You can't miss it.
Hmm.
Just click on it. You'll be entered into the show. Just click on any of the vendors. It will open the stream, and you can ask questions. You can view products. You can purchase. It's pretty different, but I think it's going to work well, and it's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people.
I think it's made as simple as possible, right, Julia? So
Yeah, I
we
think
can walk
so.
right through it.
And of course, there's a contest attached to it, so I'm going to let you talk about that.
So with the contest, you would go to the guest registration and you would register there as a guest, as you would, and you've got a chance to win all these gift certificates for different events. Like you've got breakfast at Harvest, you've got lunch at Tilly's, supper Edwards Bistro. You got a full day of pampering at Above and Beyond, and you have a night stay at the wonderful Chelsea's Inn. Plus, you get a beautiful necklace from Pommier Jewelers. Usually we do that as a big Queen of the Day package, but things changed this year, so we put a smaller package together. So you go in, you register, you get a code, and then you walk through the show. And then at the end of the show, I believe a winner is going to be picked automatically by not by us, but by I'm not sure how that works. By
It's
that the
so yeah, when you go and enter the code, the system will automatically select the winner. This is where you're going to go. You enter your code,
Mhm.
and then at the end of the 2 hours, it will say the name of the winner. So it's all done automatically. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
which is wonderful.
yeah, so let me remove
Again,
this.
the first time that we use something like that. So it's
It is.
exciting.
It is. So, okay. So, without further ado, I'm gonna bring in our first guest and co-host. Actually, she's gonna be acting more like a co-host because today I'm gonna be monitoring the messages that are coming and bringing in people who want to ask questions by video. So it's a job in its own. um, so
Yeah.
so we have Mayor Bernadette Clément. So here we go.
And I don't think we
Hi.
really need to give her a big introduction because I think pretty well everybody knows who she is. She's doing a wonderful job, and we see her
Oh,
every Thursday.
thank you very
So
much.
how?
I'm so happy to be here. I participated in the show last year and I was really looking forward to the show this year and was disappointed by, well, everything in the world. And then really happy to see you in true Julia and Miley's fashion, just figure out a new way of doing this. So I'm really excited. And Julia, is there a grandchild?
Yes, there is a grandchild. He was born yesterday at 9:06 at Cornwall Hospital, but he's been transferred today to CHIO this
Oh,
morning. So,
oh,
but they say it's just precautionary. He was
okay.
having some difficulty breathing a little bit and liquid around his lungs, I think. But he's in the best place he can be. So I have confidence that everything will be fine.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
It's great to have a baby
he's
in the
gorgeous.
family.
He's just beautiful.
Good.
Yeah, and
Congrats.
it's awesome being a grandma. I'm a grandma twice, and it's wonderful. So
Yay.
she's catching up to me now. That's wonderful too. But I gotta say, Julia, you were saying he was born in Cornwall, and I gotta say, kudos to the Cornwall
Oh
Hospital
my
right now because my dad, we've been taking him in. My dad has cancer, and he had fever for a few days, so we took him in. And my sister was super impressed at how efficient they are, how they're looking at the hygiene and how the spacing is apart in the emergency room. She says she felt super safe. She says she actually felt safer in the hospital than she does it going into a grocery store.
Oh,
And again,
they're
grocery,
taking this really seriously. Like
they
he
are
was,
really, really doing a wonderful job.
yeah, they were
We're very
confined to their
fortunate.
floor and they could not go anywhere. It was really, yeah, they're taking it really seriously, which is good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, my
We're
mom, they were
fortunate.
saying too, like as soon as you stand up, somebody's there disinfecting the seats, and like she said, it's really kudos to the hospital.
Awesome. So Bernadette, you're going to be talking to us about city things.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I just want to start off by saying how grateful I am to be living in Cornwall, to be in a place that is so peaceful, right?
Hmm.
And it's been it's when you watch what's going on in the world, it's enough to make you nervous and upset about things. But when you look and stay local, you see that people have been really trying hard and working
Hmm.
hard together. So I guess I want to start by saying how grateful I am. I also want to keep it real, though. I know that it has been difficult for people. City things have gone relatively well. The shutdown happened quickly. People stayed informed. They looked for information and they were trying to figure out the rules and stay on top of the rules and followed them. And we've been very fortunate in terms of, how the hospital, as Mylese was talking about, is how our
Hmm.
healthcare professionals were right in there, the health unit, all the people in the front lines were working together. We're being really, really brave. And so I'm grateful to all of that. I do think, however, that the reopening and recovery phase is going to take longer, right? Everybody shut down. That happened really fast. And now the recovery is going to take the time that it takes. And I think we have to pace our way through that
Mhm.
process. So from a city perspective, we rolled out the small business loan because I think what we wanted to do here was support small business. There was a serious, and there continues to be a serious concern about small business. You both know all about that.
Yes.
And yes, and
Hmm.
people have been innovative and creative here. And so that's our saving grace. But it does mean that people need help though, right? So you
Yes.
can be innovative, but you also need support. You need financial support. So the city rolled out a small business loan program to support some of the stuff that the province and the federal government was doing. And we had very good uptake on that. We converted a brownfield reserve to a loan program to make sure that our small businesses survive this recovery phase so that we have them into 2021 and 2022. So that was a big success. And now we're thinking now about creating a recovery task force. So putting a team together that'll focus in the next year on how we get those businesses and those sectors that are the hardest hit to get through this period. And that would include sectors like the nonprofit as well, because
Mhm.
as both of you know, the nonprofit sector is hit as well. So
Especially
that's
hard.
especially, and here we are. The nonprofit sector has to support the most vulnerable people in our communities. So the next phase is a recovery task force, and so details will be announced in the next few days. Right now, the city is getting feedback from people as to what that team might look like. It's important to have a diversity of voices on that team so that we focus on community, focus on what the hardest hit sectors really need to get through. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's been good. And I also want to tell people to keep it real though. When people ask me how I'm doing, I look at them and I say, well, do you want a 1 minute answer? Do you want a 5 minute answer? Do you want absolute truth? because it's not been easy, right? As lucky as we have been in terms of everybody working together and our community being so resilient, it's also been really difficult for people,
Right.
including myself, right, to stay positive, to stay inspired and happy. So yeah, I think we need to keep it real. Even when we're on Zoom meetings, we need to keep it real.
So there's a question that just came in for you, Bernadette.
Sure.
They're saying, I would like to know how Bernadette feels about restrictions being lifted when even the Prime Minister is saying there will be a second wave.
Right. So this whole thing has been a balancing act, right? You have to look to recovery. You have to look to reopening. That is not just from a financial perspective, but from a health and mental health perspective. People need to get back into business. We need to reopen. But at the same time, it's how do we do that, right? We're being told that we need to be testing and contact tracing, and that only a lot of testing and contact tracing is going to be able to allow us to reopen. So the focus has to be on that. And I'm really interested in what the Premier is saying these days about testing people who are without symptoms, right? Even those folks, everyone, especially frontline folks, so that we feel confident as we continue to reopen. So it's a balancing act. You've got to do both. You've got to keep listening to messages and keep adapting. And also, can I use the word faith? You have to have a little bit of faith in, a little bit of faith in your community and in people trying to follow the rules as best they can.
Absolutely. It's but like in the last few days, Ontario has really been ramping up testing. So that's really good to see. And the numbers are still, the more testing you see, the more you're supposed to see cases, because you're testing more, you're going to find more cases. However, like the numbers have still been staying around 300, 350. So that's positive.
It is. And so, and then it gives you more confidence as you move forward, right? So that's very important. And we've increased testing here locally as well. So the health unit, releases those test results and those come out. And so in the last week alone, there's been a real uptick in testing, and that's good. We need to keep seeing that.
Yeah.
So another question. Can you tell us more about what has happened in terms of collaborating with, hold on, I lost the question. In terms of collaborating with other municipalities in the area and the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry?
Yeah. Listen, it's a smart audience. Julia, Mylise, you've attracted some smart folks. So we as a region declared a state of emergency back in March, and we did that as a region deliberately because we want to make sure that we're working together. And every 2 weeks now, it was weekly, the warden sets up a meeting, the MPP and the MP, all elected officials for the region, jump onto that meeting, including Grand Chief Abram Benedict. So there's a really good, strong team that stays together on the region, our region, SDG, and Prescott Russell as well. And in addition, the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus has been really active and very supportive. So all the Eastern Ontario mayors, we meet regularly. And we are talking to each other about what each city is doing. I had a great chat with the mayor of Kingston just on Friday. He reached out to me to say, this is what we're doing in Kingston. Do you want to know about that? Do you want to talk about that? So they're focused on their downtown. They're focused also on a regional approach. So you heard the Premier say that in regions that have fewer cases, it may be time for us to move a little more quickly. So we had a chat about that. So there is a lot of regional work going on, and we're getting together because we need to advocate with the province and the feds too, because as municipalities, we're going to need assistance throughout this period.
Exactly.
So let me see. I have no other questions right now. Mylise, I'm going to let you take over because I apparently have a problem with my contest. So I'm going to go and check that out while you ladies chat.
With your what?
The contest. Yeah,
Oh,
there's several people that are saying that my
my
code is not working, so I've got to go and check it out. But go ahead. I'm going to let you speak. I'm going to remove myself for a minute, and you guys continue to chat.
All right. Well, like I say, this is a very new, and it's something we came up with. I don't know if anybody else has done this kind of thing with the floor plan, and you can visit people and chat with them. So there's bound to be issues, and
Of
Julia being
course.
she's being the website guru. She's the one that has to deal with that because I do more the sales and the PR and stuff like that. So. But no, you've been awesome, Bernadette, and you're always smiling and you're always happy. But I'm sure there's times that it takes its toll, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people have said, well, you have to keep morale up, right? You're the chief morale officer
Yeah,
in the city.
yeah,
And that's important, but it's also important to be honest and transparent
hmm
about how difficult it can be, right?
hmm
You know that people are suffering, you see them, and I felt very disconnected from people. I'm so used to going to events and to connecting with people in person.
yeah,
And I've found Zoom meetings, although efficient, right, for getting messages
hmm
across, not really efficient for in terms of energy and
no,
staying positive. So it's been personally a bit of a struggle to stay upbeat and happy. But I have used my Facebook channels with the help of Katie Verhoeven to do the Facebook
yeah,
Lives. That was a really good way to get in touch with people, tell people, where to go for information, but also
yes,
to get feedback. Yeah. So it's been, yeah, you feel kind of competent, right? When you get through things,
yeah,
but you also know that so many people need a lot of help. And so there's a constant worry about the community. I also worry about all the stuff that we're not doing anymore, right? All the projects that we were setting up and going towards now have to sort of be put on hold as we focus on recovery. So there's
yeah,
parts pride in being competent and then worry. Yeah.
yeah. And I know you're out and about everywhere, and you're a big hugger, so that's got to be a problem too. That's got to be hard because
It's
I know it's hard for me.
it's major, right? And I live
Yeah,
alone, and I love living alone. That's something that's fine. That's always been fine for me.
hmm
But when you're an extrovert during this period of time and you're used to a lot of personal contact, it's been,
hmm
yeah, personally quite a struggle from that perspective. Starting to get used to it now, especially as the weather's better. Getting
yeah.
out, talking to physical distancing, but outside. I'm really enjoying that piece and finding that that's making me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, so update on my contest. I can't figure it out right now. So here's what I'm going to do, people. So I'm going to be sending an email to everybody who registered after the show, and I'm going to send you a new code and a new link to a new contest, and you can go and enter that code there. Meanwhile, the show must go on. Okay, I have another question here for you. So the
Yeah.
person says, I am a college student attending George Brown College in Toronto. It is
Mm,
my understanding that us students are being asked to help our community in order to apply for a specific bursary in September that can range from $1,000 to $5,000. I was wondering if there are any specific guidelines for what we are supposed to be doing in order to apply for these bursaries.
wow, I don't have the answer for that question. But, there's always a list of resources. Certainly on my Facebook page is a list of resources. But, that if it's a federal, the way it works is if it's municipal, you'll want to go to your city. If it's a federal or provincial issue, you'll always want to start with your MP or MPP. So the
Mhm.
federal government has made many, many announcements around students and bursaries. So the best place to go is always starting with your your federal MP representative, and they will have all of the resources there. And students have been a major focus. And we miss them, right? And we want them in our workplaces. We want to be able to, and so the summer programs are still there, but not the same. So I would send you to your MP.
Speaking of summer programs, this is a summer related question. Question about regional reopening. If they decide to reopen the pools in Cornwall, is there going to be a restriction for people out of province?
Right. Oh my gosh. So we're still getting ready for that. We are being told by the local medical officer of health that we need to be ready for pools potentially opening in July. We have not heard officially on that, but we have to start getting ready. So now we have to wonder as a city, so which ones do we open? How many do we open? We might not have capacity to open them all. So we're still focused on locally how that's going to look. We haven't really started to think about people coming in from elsewhere. So what we call going from a hot spot into a cold spot, right? Coming into a spot where there are fewer cases, and you're coming from a place where there are many cases. So we're not at that point yet, but believe me, we are having those conversations with the local medical officer of health. He's having those conversations with the province. So the premier just started talking about this regional opening, and we're still waiting for more details on that.
I have somebody asking if they can ask a question that is not COVID related. So I said yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the thing. A lot of people don't want to talk about COVID-19 anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
We're just bombarded with everything COVID, like especially us in the media, like not so much anymore, because I've tried to cancel and cut some of the press releases and press conferences that I was attending, but my day was like basically from start to finish. I would start with the the prime minister, and then the
And
premier,
then
and then the municipal. So yeah, it's enough to drive you crazy if you don't stop. So it's important, I think, to disconnect and take time for yourself as well, and rest your psyche. You just gotta take a break and breathe.
Especially with the seeker, we got to step back and try and get back to our mission of positive news. I mean,
it's kind of hard to keep to positive news,
because every time we do a Motivation Monday, we get talking about COVID, and that's not what we wanted to do.
Right.
But I mean, we got to give a shout out to Bill Kingston too, and his great updates that we kind of piggyback on, because he does a wonderful job. And that's how
local media has been great. Local media has been on top of this. I can't mention Your TV enough. Like, they went from doing community events to actually supporting a whole lot of things. Local media has been fantastic.
Good.
Fantastic.
I had a question, but I don't even know if you know this. You probably don't know it because it's too early. I know that in the States, there's a lot of universities and colleges and even schools that have decided that even in the fall, they're not going to go back. So do you know if that's being considered in our in the province?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So universities are, so post-secondary is thinking about September and what they're going to do and how much they're going to be able to offer online.
Yeah. So, I got to say, I'm really impressed with the way they pivoted and adapted to all this. I have like I have 3 kids that are in school right now, and so it's been kind of a weird adaptation for us, but it's been interesting, and they've done a really good job. They're utilizing the technology, and they're providing technology to the kids that don't have it, and so it's good.
It's been remarkable.
Yep, absolutely. So let me see if we've got.
There was that one question that wasn't COVID related. What was
that? They haven't asked a question just yet. So
non-COVID is fine as well.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this one is about the fire ban. I'm just wondering when and if the fire ban is going to be lifted in Cornwall. If it's lifted in other counties, yet not in Cornwall. So why?
Right. So the fire ban was something that preceded the pandemic, right? So council created a fire ban, and then we are now currently without a bylaw. So the council has been working towards coming back to council, like bringing the issue back to the council table to put in a bylaw. And so the work was being done behind the scenes to bring it back to council. And this was councillors doing this kind of work, except then the pandemic hit, right? So then we went into special council meetings and we weren't sort of doing the regular council business. I can tell you that is going to come back to the table probably in the next few weeks, because we're now back to our regular council meeting schedule. We're still in a state of emergency, but we're back to our regular council schedule. There are councillors working on a bylaw with potentially some compromises. But again, that is going to depend on the conversation around the table. So stay tuned. Probably in the next few weeks, there will be a discussion. I'm not promising that people are going to be happy one way or another. I'm not going to make that promise. This has been a very difficult issue for our community, also for our council. But we're going to have a full conversation in the next few weeks.
Okay, so I have another funny, and that's going to be the last question for you, because we're going to bring on our other guest after. But
Sure.
this is a funny question.
Oh, geez. That is a good one.
You know what? I used to, back when, you know, when you had places where you would like, it was like, you would go to places with music and lights, and I used to do that.
Yeah, those were fun.
Just
those
for
were
fun.
fun.
But I haven't done it. I have rollerbladed a couple of times down the bike path, but this is years ago. So yeah, I guess, is it like riding a bike?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I
No,
tell you,
it is.
I put roller skates on recently, and I don't have the balance that I used to have. It's just not. No, I don't think so.
I think it is though, because the roller derby girls had done they'd done a few, I think at the Nativity Hall, they had some, and that was, I mean, a few years ago, and I hadn't roller skated in like 25 years, and I put my roller skates on, and yeah, I was a little wobbly at first, but it comes back to you. I think it is like riding a bike. But however, I would feel a lot safer on four wheels than a rollerblade. So you're a lot braver than me. I don't think I could do that one.
Okay, I'll put in
Stephanie,
one more. One more just in case. Just in case. That's a quick one. Here we go. Worship places, are they going to open soon?
Yeah, so there's discussion about that too. So what's interesting about all of this is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? The stages. And so there have been no deadlines set to each of those stages. Ontario deliberately didn't put deadlines because they open and then they wait a couple of weeks to see if there's an uptick in cases. So places of worship are sort of in that zone where it's coming. It's like, so we're waiting to see. So I would say soon, but what does soon mean, right?
Yeah, it's relative.
It's relative.
Okay. So, Mylise, I'm going to let you introduce our next guest.
So our next guest is Loreen Ashton Wagner. So I'll give you a little bit of a bio. I'm sure she might fill in a little bit more when she comes on, but Doreen's the co-owner of Ashton Wagner Enterprises, Inc. and the creator of forloveandbusiness.com. It's a community for women entrepreneurs in rural areas and small towns. She's a professional facilitator and entrepreneurship researcher who offers resources, workshops, networking events for business owners, including an annual Business Sisters Conference that she puts on every year. There is a word in French there, Julia, but I don't know if I want to pronounce it. It's called Learn More Here, because I don't speak French, so I don't want to say it. Anyway, we're thrilled to welcome Loreen to our lineup of guests. And the topic that she's going to be speaking on is, the title is Stop, Continue, Start, Strategies to Regain Your Sanity in Love and Business. Because during this pandemic, we've all had to change, and, it's taking its toll on us. So she's going to talk about how we can think about our life at home, at work, and how we can do better. And she's going to help us through that part.
And here she is.
Hi, Loreen.
Hi, how are you all? It's so great to be here.
We're so happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to say, Maëlys and Julia, you've done a fantastic job with this online event. I know some larger, much larger shows and other events elsewhere have not been able to kind of retool and go in this direction. And here we are in this wonderful area, and you've been able to do it. So congratulations, ladies. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
It's bold, it's innovative, and it's actually a great example of entrepreneurial innovation, I think. So kudos to you for sure.
I want to remind people that this is happening right now. We're having the guest speakers here, but there's a whole show happening on our website. So if you go to theseeker.ca, there's a big banner. It says the Women's Day Show. Click on there and it'll open a map of a floor plan of all the vendors that are live right now that you can visit with and support. Like, we know that our small businesses have been hit really hard. So this is our way to try to help all the vendors, and there's a wide variety of organizations that are on the map. So just go and visit with them, talk to them, and hopefully there's a lot of traffic there too.
Well, we've got close to 50 vendors over there, so there's a lot of people to visit.
So Doreen.
Yes, and I'm coming to you, by the way, from North Glengarry, in a very rural area near Greenfield, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my internet is going to hold up. My husband's been forbidden to be watching anything online whilst I'm on here because, you know, it's going to freeze up. So what I'm hoping to share with you today is actually some concrete strategies to help us, whether you've got to figure out what's happening perhaps in your business, but it can also be applied in what I call love. So that's your family, with your loved ones, anything that is outside of career or professional circles or your business. It's actually, I mean, I didn't invent this at all. This whole idea of stop, start, continue, as it's usually referred to, but I've switched the second and third positions around for a reason that I'll get into in just a moment. It's actually a pretty old trick in the facilitator playbook when it comes to bringing people together when you have to figure out which way to go. I would even say, Bernadette, this is a trick you can use at council. Figure out.
I am listening and taking it.
There you go. It has a lot of ways to be applied. And what I'm hoping to do with you today is to give you a couple of examples. I'll explain first what the concept is when it comes to what I say is stop, continue, start. And then as we go along and I explain those concepts, I'll give you some examples of what I've done with those concepts in my own professional life and how I've seen it applied in for other people and even in my own environment and personal. In love, see, I'm all about for love first, and business, right? So as women, whether we're moms or not, it doesn't matter. We deal with people from a place of love, I would say, very often, sometimes a little bit to our detriment, and we've got to figure that balance of for love and business, right? So, and I'd love to get some questions. It's all about what kind of conversation we can be creating. So, so there we go. Are we okay? And please interrupt me, Maëlys or Julia, if there's questions as you go along, or Bernadette. It's like it's conversation, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm monitoring the questions online, so as soon as I have one, I'll let you know.
Okay, good. And also what I'd like to do is if anybody wants to connect with me afterwards, they absolutely can check out my Facebook page, which is For Love and Biz. Biz is B-I-Z, because, you know, you're limited for the name of your business online, or you were when I set it up. And you can look me up, Loreen, Ashton, Wagner. So, all right. In a nutshell, the concept stop is exactly that. You look at where you are in the circumstances that you're currently living. So let's say these pandemic times, and you figure out what you absolutely should no longer do. This really comes from a place of what you can control. However, I'll put that caveat. It's really important that it's something that you have control over. So if you're trying to stop, I don't know, I'll pick an issue that I saw online posted earlier about if you're trying to stop people from littering in the park in Cornwall, I'm not sure you necessarily, at least an individual, has control over something like that. So focus first on what you can stop yourself. So it's typically related to personal behavior as opposed to someone else's. So keep that in mind, ladies, especially. The second concept is continue. So once you've stopped something, maybe it's time to acknowledge what you're actually doing well, or what's going okay and needs to continue. And maybe if you've stopped doing certain things, you can do the things that are working okay, maybe a little bit better, and you can feel better about it. So that's why I've actually put continue as the second concept in this model, because it's so important that we acknowledge what we do well, or what we get by when perhaps others are struggling. So it's acknowledging from a place of love that, hey, this is okay. I'm grateful for what's happening, and I can continue in that direction. So stop, continue, and then start is really, what can you be doing that is new, that is not currently in your wheelhouse? And sometimes it's related to what you've stopped doing. You've made room for something, but you flipped it, and you decided to do something to make the problem you stopped get better. So let me give you a couple of examples. For instance, in my own business, so For Love and Business does produce live events, the Business Sisters Conference, and something called Les Concerts en Affaires, Maëlys. That's the French version.
I'm going to said it.
I know. It's like, what is that
I
word?
didn't want to do it.
And it gets a little tricky when it's spelt in actual, French. The E and the O are squished together. So anyway, it just messes up people. So in my own business, obviously, I produce live events, networking, and 2 conferences a year. That's been stopped for me, actually, with this pandemic. But from a business point of view, I had to look at, first of all, to keep it real, Bernadette, I went into bunker mode for the first couple of months. I hardly posted anything on my business, For Love and Business page, because I didn't know what to say. I reshared a few posts and so on, but I'm like, how can you be authentic and genuine in this? I'm fond of saying, if you don't have anything to contribute to the conversation, maybe it's not something that we should be looking to say more. So I actually stopped, frankly, my Instagram account. It used to stress me out to have to post the picture perfect, thing, and I stopped. I haven't been back. I haven't looked at it. I stopped doing it. It was stressing me out. I also, if you go to my website, I'm not a great example right now of something that's up to date. My old events are still up in the banner. I haven't touched it because, again, I was kind of stressed out with other things, and I decided, you know what? I'm not going to torment myself about the should have updated the website. So I stopped doing that. So that's an example of, it's not a shining example, but it worked for me, of something that I couldn't continue. It doesn't mean I won't go back to it when I'm ready, but from a stress point of view, I couldn't do it. So
Loreen,
yeah.
did you want to sort of communicate with your clients about those feelings of feeling a bit stressed about that, because I know what you mean. When I was on the Facebook channels and I could see everybody organizing their closets, baking bread, I can tell you that my closet is not organized.
No,
And
no.
I didn't bake, and it made me feel even less sort of, efficient about things.
Oh,
But do
totally.
you say that?
I didn't, because I didn't, what are you going to say? How dare you clean up your closet and bake bread? If it works for you, right?
Right.
My inside voice at some point, I'm not saying I wasn't eye rolling at some of those posts. It's just what works for us. It's just keeping it,
Right.
on for us. And frankly, I think everybody is so busy trying to do things for others and just posting and so on. I'm not sure they really missed me all that much during the 2 months I really didn't communicate.
Right.
Like, reality check, really? Am I that important to a lot of women entrepreneurs? No, they were trying to figure out their own business and their own families and schooling their children and keeping it together. I'm not sure they really needed anything from me.
Right. That's a very fair point. Thank you for that, Doreen.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's a very real point too.
Yeah, it was like
Exactly.
keeping it real for sure. And the idea as well here is, at the end of the day, it's really making sure that it works for us. Really, that's the only thing I can say. If we judge ourselves. Women judge themselves so much, right? If it's not the body image and the look and so on. I mean, 3 months ago, the old me would have been horrified to be in front of you with a kind of a half-assed ponytail in a bun and, the grays. I mean, I talk to my hairdresser. I mean, but not now. It's like, you know what? Moving on. So thanks for that, Bernadette. It's one of those things, it's like keeping it real. I've also seen, honestly, on the love side or the family side, I've seen some women say, you know what? I have such crappy internet in this area. I can only do the bare minimum with my kids. I downloaded their worksheets, whatever they have to do with their teachers, depending on the grade, but they can't participate in a Zoom. And it's just not going to happen. I can't do otherwise. And they had to, they felt a lot of guilt, like what their kids were going to miss out and so on. But what can they do? There was nothing they could do. So the stop was done for them. But what they did do, which was smart, was forgive themselves and stop feeling guilty about it. So that aspect of, beating ourselves up, it's not helpful. Stop doing that. So let's move on a little bit to the continue side. One of the things that I know, I had used this before, and for other work that I was doing, not necessarily with my women entrepreneurs, but with online focus group research I'd done with some not-for-profit groups. So I was already using Zoom. So at one point, I ended up going into hey, I can do Zooms for my women entrepreneurs. So I was, in effect, continuing something I'd done pre-pandemic and looking to continue it and come out of my period of inactivity. I didn't have to learn Zoom. I already knew, thankfully, how to use it, so I just continued it. On a personal side, I'm a gardener. I love gardening, and I continued doing that. I mean, I won't show you my hands because there's dirt, underneath the fingernails. I couldn't scrub it out completely. So continuing that activity helped me, frankly, maintain my sanity. So that's very helpful. So done with the stop. Moving forward and being thankful that things are still working with a continue. Oh, and with a continue, I actually did see with a couple of my women entrepreneur friends, after they gave up on the Zoom sessions and so on, they looked, how could they help their kids just continue learning and being engaged? Well, a few of them are baking bread and doing reasonably well with their cooking and so on. It became time for them to, and maybe that's a bit more of a start, but they continued with their cooking activities and included the kids.
You see,
Right.
I started using one of these box delivery services, and the recipes are so easy, and everything is pre-measured and already, pretty much done for you. So the kids, my daughter is just loving it. She's so we started that.
Excellent.
That was a start for us.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's sometimes the continue kind of moves into a little bit, the start phase. You go from something you're already doing, and including the kids. And I see someone here says sanity was sometimes very hard to maintain. Yeah, you include the kids, it can be a little difficult to do for sure. So, but let's look at the start here, all right? So you've made space, hopefully by stopping some things, and you've acknowledged yourself for doing something well or that works for you. So now what is missing? And I've already mentioned the kids, but in my business, for instance, it was very much, I was missing contact with our women entrepreneurs. So it's flipping it over and including people. And for instance, next week, we've got 2 online events bringing together women entrepreneurs who are in the personal care services sector, right? So anything from massage therapy to hairdressers and so on. And I'm filling my need to be connected with other women in business by putting on these events. So I'm starting something new. I don't know anything about, well, other than being a client at a lot of these service providers. I'm inviting them to this event to collaborate on tips. How can they safely go back to work? And where are they going to be purchasing certain items? And what have you been doing in, you may be in Cornwall, but what's a woman in Vankleek Hill doing? Doesn't matter. Bring them together and they can share and learn from one another. So on the business side, I started doing online events. And I think when it comes to the process and re-strategizing, these are really a great way to, the stop, continue, start helps you gain clarity in what you want to be doing moving forward. So I see actually one of our partners in our events, Marie-Noël Lantier. You're so sweet. Thank you, Marie-Noël, for saying, congratulations and so on. So I don't know if you ladies have any questions on the start side of things, but it really is, at the end of the day, and don't make a long list of things you want to start, because that's counterproductive. Just pick one, something new, and see if you can make a go of it. Again, most highly successful entrepreneurs, and I would say, whether it doesn't have to be that you're in business, you could be a terrific innovator as a mom at home, and usually we are, making do, and you start something new, just don't make it a really long to-do list that's 12 items long, because then you're going to get overwhelmed again. So yeah.
There is a comment that just came in. It said, it was a time for pause and not feeling guilty about it. We are driven as entrepreneurs, but I so appreciate the words you are sharing with us. The Stop, Continue, Start is a great platform to reflect on. Thank you.
You're welcome, Gabby. Friend from Kingston. So again, it's nice to be able to collaborate as women entrepreneurs from across the region. I think Eastern Ontario is a really fertile ground for that kind of collaboration. So
it really is. And Doreen, I want to say, I'm happy to hear you say that you're going to focus on personal service sector. I know that we miss that sector in particular. We often seek, yes. We often seek comfort through that sector. And what I find interesting is they are they have been ready, right? They have been working together. They're looking at what's happening in Europe and everywhere else, and they've been getting ready for this. So it'll be very interesting to hear what they have to say and what they've been doing, networking with others outside of the city and this region to get ready, because it's they miss us too, obviously, and they have really organized their own networks.
Yeah. And I'm glad you say that, Bernadette, because the reason we actually picked those three sectors, so we started with retail, small independent retail, then personal services, and the week after that, it'll be food service and agri-tourism, small tourism outfits. And at the end of the day, it's because they're women-dominated sectors. Yes, we do have men in all those areas, and by the way, the men are welcome to all our events. It's at the end, it's entrepreneurs, and you don't even really need to be a full-time entrepreneur to join our events either. But at the end of the day, we pick those sectors because they're highly driven by women entrepreneurs, and the fact that for a lot of them, I mean, I've read heartbreaking stories of as much as the various levels of government. You know, for instance, I'm grateful to hear that the City of Cornwall is offering loans, but for a variety of reasons, and I know you've made it super easy in Cornwall, but for a variety of reasons, a lot of women are reluctant to take on debt. And for a variety of reasons, you know, they're not wanting.
No,
so
it's an issue. It's an issue. It's definitely an issue.
Yeah, and I've encountered it. I've said to women, you know, apply for the loan, and they don't want to. So I think this is one area that I'm an entrepreneurship researcher, and I think there's going to be room for alternative means of financing. There's got to be more community-based financing. Hesitate to call it Kickstarter campaign type, but Kickstarter campaign type financing, more collaborative financial models. And I'm really, really excited about exploring those different business models with people. We got to, I mean, I love our bank. They're wonderful, but we need to start looking to other ways as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So just to wrap up, because I know that, you know, we still have 6 minutes according to my clock, and but I don't want to be pulled off. You know, I have the music starts in the background like Academy Awards. Right? So when you look at the strategy of stop, continue, start, really look at what you can control. This could be even applied strictly for your emotions. It doesn't have to be actions. What do you need to stop beating yourself for? What are you really good emotionally? What kind of, I don't know, maybe you're a pretty positive person to begin with, and you express thanks every day. That's great. And now, moving forward, what can you start? Well, maybe you can start connecting with others and figuring out other means of collaboration. I don't know. I'm just making this up as we go along. So it can be action-based, it can be emotionally based, but the most important thing, it's got to be within your wheelhouse of control. And I wish you all the best of luck in doing this, because I think it's an excellent tool to be able to move us forward and have clarity. So that's it.
Absolutely.
Doreen, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say to you that I want to thank you for using the word love. I know that sometimes we're told as women and in politics and in business that it's not the place for that word in our speeches, in our words to people. But I don't agree. I think that if we can use the word love and actually feel that and have that as our driving force, I think that's a great thing. I like that you talk about that so openly. I really appreciate that. Merci beaucoup.
I think that women come from a completely different perspective than men do, and especially in politics, Bernadette. I thank you, Doreen, but I want to thank Bernadette too, because you do bring the caring aspect to it. Like your
Mhm.
response to this COVID thing has been nothing but caring. And it's reassuring for everybody to see that, oh, she's got our back,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so thank you.
thank you, Julia. And hasn't it been amazing to see all the women in leadership roles? Whenever we watched the the health care doctors and the medical officers of health, and we would turn on our channels and see women in those positions, it was remarkable to me,
Mhm.
and very inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll add one thought. I'll leave you with this. And in terms of the conversation about love and business or leadership and that sort of thing, and it was a boy mom, my friend Kelly in Toronto, who's a mom to one wonderful young man, and she challenged me on the narrative around women feel this and so on. She actually said, how do we enable our young men, our men, to show
feel.
love? Because they're often called not very nice words to put them down by other guys at times when they show any sort of vulnerability or wanting to focus on things. And I will challenge this. I know that in some circles around here, very close to us, young dads are belittled for wanting to have more mental health and balance between their work and their family life. So, the leadership needs to really look at how they view that whole work-life balance much more critically. And it's about time we change our attitudes.
Absolutely. I know some
Absolutely.
of the
Whoa.
most nurturing mothers are fathers. So,
Yeah.
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 I just gotta say too, like during the pandemic, of course, a lot more people are walking and that kind of thing, and it just is so nice to see two young fathers pushing strollers, going for a walk together.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to see it,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to absolutely celebrate that. So
Thank you,
again,
Loreen.
thank you. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to go shop now. Go
Go right
online.
ahead.
All
Have
right.
a great,
You're
fabulous
wonderful, Doreen.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Merci.
ladies. Okay. Bye.
I do want to add
Right.
one thing though. I truly believe that, I mean, this pandemic, nobody wanted it, nobody wants it, but it really is like a reset button for humanity because it's put us, like Dorian said, it's made it stop and pretty well stop and smell the flowers,
Yeah. Yeah.
see what's important and, communicate and come together. It really has done that. It's been
I agree,
amazing.
Marlies. I agree. And I hope that we don't waste, because there's been a lot of sacrifice, right? And I hope we
Yeah.
don't waste all all this struggle.
Yes.
I don't want it to be
Yeah.
wasted. Like if we can come through the other side with some of these learnings, right? I think
Yeah.
it'll be helpful. Yeah.
And I know on Facebook they always say this is the new normal because the old normal wasn't working, so things have changed
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
we will continue. So
All
anyway,
right.
I guess
Well,
it's time for our next guest. And next up we have Dr. Raji Menon. And she's actually done many things and she was my surgeon at one point. So she's worn many, many hats over the years. She trained as a surgeon and practiced surgery for almost 30 years. And during that time, she's been very involved in surgical education and was a coordinator at the Cornwall Community Hospital for the medical education program, receiving students and residents from Ottawa and Queen's universities. However, over the last 3 to 4 years, she's migrated more towards palliative care, and that is now what she solely practices. Dr. Menon trained as a professional life coach in 2010. She's been doing one-on-one life coaching whenever she can. And more importantly, her life coaching skills have come in very handy in her day-to-day work as a physician. She's a mother of two lovely girls, a lifelong learner, and is always extending her education. She's actually got certificate in interior design, existential well-being counseling, and has taken numerous other courses, including mindfulness meditation and self-realization fellowship. Today, she's going to be speaking to us about leadership and communication. So we're so excited. Hi, Dr. Raji.
Hi, Miley's, Julia, and
Hi.
Bernadette. Thank you for that introduction. And I have to say, I really loved that talk by Doreen. So if she's still listening, thank you to her as well. That was wonderful.
It was.
It's it's not something we do only because of this pandemic now. I think this is something that would help anyone who has heard to keep it, present in their lives going forward as well. It's a very, very good way to get some sanity when you think you're going crazy, because we always spread ourselves too thin and it's very easy to burn out. So I want to thank you guys for that talk. So I see there's about something like 35 people on the call right now, and I would really like to keep this interactive. So let me start with a question, and I hope people can just type in their answers and then you can show us what we see. So my first question is, how many of you who are listening has any kind of leadership role in your life? So just say I do or I don't. It's not important to know who you are. Just tell us I do or I don't, just to get an idea of how many people think they are leaders.
Okay, I'm not seeing any comments come in just yet, but I can say I do.
I can't hear Raji.
Me too.
Can everybody hear Raji?
Yes, we can hear her. You can't hear her, Bernadette?
Okay. I can't hear. No, I can't.
Oh, we
And
got
that's
one I
terrible,
do.
'cause I always want to hear Dr. Menon. I always want to hear Dr. Menon. Oh, okay. I don't know why I can't.
Can you?
How about now? No?
No, we can hear you just fine, Dr. Raji.
Okay.
I don't know why, but we're guests are hearing you too because they're answering I do. So
Okay, go ahead. But then I may not be able to jump in.
Oh, that would be such a loss, because this is about leadership.
Yes.
Exactly. And Bernadette Clement is definitely a leader.
Okay. So have you got any I don'ts yet, Julia?
I do not have any I don'ts. I got 3 I do's.
Okay, out of 35.
Well, basically, every mother out there is a leader. Every father out there is a leader. So we know that.
You are now saying my speech for me. Well, that was kind of where I was going with this. So I looked at various definitions for leadership. And there are so many really long definitions with all kinds of key words in them. But the best one and the most succinct one that I found was that leaders help themselves and others do the right thing. So, and exactly like Miley said, that makes every one of us a leader. So let me just go through some simple examples and convince anyone who is not yet convinced that we all have leadership roles in our lives at some point or the other, and pretty much most days if you actually think about it. So what do leaders do? What are some of the situations? Gabe says, I'm trying to be very good. You are, believe it or not. Okay, so some of the situations, I'm just going to go through some examples quickly. So, and some of them are very easy to understand, okay? So you have a business leader, a business owner, or a CEO of a company. They are in a position where they have the right to make decisions and they make decisions. So that's an easy one, easy example for a leadership role. Elected leaders like Bernadette, like people, members of parliament, even people on a committee. So these are people who are chosen to make decisions on behalf of a larger group. But they are a group, so each individual person is not the one who makes the decision. They make the decision as a group. But how does a group make decisions? Generally, in a democratic setup, you have mostly majority decisions, right? So but before that decision is made, before you take a vote on what the majority thinks, you usually have a discussion or a debate in some cases. For example, in the parliament, you have a debate. Now, even in that situation, every single person, so our MPP may be a leader in our area, but when he goes to parliament, he's equal to 100 other people who are all there. And yet, his or her opportunity would be during that debate or the discussion to influence others, to tell them why he thinks a certain course of action is best or a certain decision is best. And if he is a good leader and is able to do that job well, he can convince more people to vote in favor of whatever decision he thinks is right? So even there, so it's a difference from being the leader to being a leader where you influence other people. So there's another opportunity where you have the chance to help another person make the right decision. So then those of us, so I see a couple of other people say, I do not. So, so for those people, if you are just an ordinary citizen, I mean, I don't like to use the word ordinary citizen. We all are important people. Everyone is important in their own way. But, there are some people who describe themselves, oh, I'm just a this or that. So just from the previous talks that we heard, we heard about opening swimming pools. We heard about the fire ban. We heard about littering. These are all things that happen at a local level. These are problems or issues that need decisions made about them at a local level. What can you and I do? We are not in, say, in the council where I can make a decision, but I have the ability to go talk to my councilman or the mayor, explain to them what I see, show them my perspective. So when 100 different people show them their individual perspectives, the leader is then able to come to a decision that helps the majority of, that is right for the majority of the people. Now, in this situation, who is the leader really? It's each one of us who has helped those leaders at council to come to the right decision. So each one of us, so those who said, I do not, please note, you have a very important role in this life to help others see your perspective, whether it's at the council or at your workplace, at wherever you are, at your schools, your kids' schools. So everybody has that opportunity to be a leader, to have a leadership role. So then there are people who say, oh no, I'm just a housewife and I don't go into these politics and I don't have the time to talk to councillors. Fine. You have children, right? If you're a parent, you have children. If you have children, you have to make decisions for the children. When your children grow up, they're going to ask you for advice, for help. You're going to help them make decisions in their life based on your life experiences. And so there again, you're helping somebody else make good decisions or do the right thing. So if you're not a parent, what about that? Are you in a partnership? Do you have a spouse, a relationship, or a business partnership? Oh, we're equal partners. Fine. Even in an equal partnership, each person has a different strength, generally speaking, right? We make partnerships with people who have strengths that are different from ours. And the reason is that we complement one another and say, I'm better at finance, you're better at project management. When a decision that has to be made is about finance, I will be able to influence that decision, right? Same thing when you who has a specialty with project management is able to give me information about something else that we are doing about a project, then even though we have equal partnership, we are able to make that decision based on one person's experience, expertise, and knowledge, right? So no matter where you are, you have that role of helping somebody else make a good decision. Now, another situation where people don't probably see that as a leadership role is when it comes to celebrations. So say a celebration of, say, a marriage, a wedding, or celebration of life when someone has passed away. Spiritual leaders, or any kind of party, say the MC, has a leadership role, right? So if I'm, say, giving a eulogy at somebody's passing, it's my job to show the other people what this person's life was all about. Show them through my experiences, my connections, how this person influenced me. And by how I show that and how I express that, I'm able to show you all how this person lived their life and hopefully inspire somebody in the audience. So there is a leadership role even in that kind of situation. And then spiritual leaders, of course, without a doubt, have that role. Now let's talk about children, a bunch of kids playing on the playground. Even in that situation where they're just a bunch of kids playing, each kid can have an influence on the others if they choose to do the right thing, right? Somebody threw away something not in a litter box, not in a garbage bin. Another person can say, hey, don't do it here, man, put it in there, So it's so, I mean, no matter what part of life, no matter what stage of life, no matter where you are, there is always an opportunity for leadership. So then I think with all these examples, I have quite established that we are all leaders, right?
Yep.
So then the next question is, okay, then what are some of the skills we need, or what are some of the characteristics we need to be good leaders? And again, please feel free to type in what you think. I will start off with a few skills that I think that just came to me, and this is by no means exhaustive. So a leader needs honesty above all, integrity, clarity, commitment, communication skills, courage, decisiveness, passion, humility, tact, knowledge, endurance. We can keep going on, right?
That's an intimidating list.
Not everybody has all, right? That's why we are all, that's why we have multiple leaders, right? Not everybody has every one of these. But the one thing that every single one of us should have or should aim to achieve is the ability to communicate.
Right.
Somebody said vision.
Vision, yes, perfect.
Yes,
yeah, very important. So I said we have to communicate, and the reason I said the communication is the most important thing is that, for example, if you have a great vision, what use is that vision if you can't help others see that vision?
Exactly.
Right? If you can't help others see that vision, and unless they are inspired by that vision, if they also have the same vision, then your job is made so much easier to get everybody working together. Right? A person who makes a decision, say, I own my company, I have 3 employees, and I have the right to make whatever decisions I want. Passion, that's another great important characteristic. So I have the right to make those decisions, fine. But you see, if I own a company, I can even get the employees to do what I say, right? Because I make the rules. But is it not better to have them do it of their own free will, like willingly, right? That's better than doing it because I say so. Same thing with our kids, right? Having someone else do something because they think it's the right thing to do takes communication skills. What's even better is if they can do it because they have the same vision as I have, and it becomes what they want to do, not what I ask them to do. So
persuasion would be a good one too.
Yeah, and persuasion occurs through good communication, right?
Right.
So unless I can communicate to that person what good can come out of doing these particular actions, right? If I can do that, then that person can actually feel it is important to do these actions and therefore want to do it themselves. That's a big difference from saying do this or do that, or these are the rules, right?
Is there such thing as feminine leadership? Like, is there a sort of a gender piece there where women are better at certain things, or there are certain skills that are seen as feminine and so they're not leadership skills? Do you know what I mean, Dr. Menon?
I know, but I didn't even think about that part. I never even, when I was preparing this talk, I didn't even think of female versus male, because communication is something everybody should have, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to communicate. Effective listening, Afia Chowdhury says effective, perfect. You know, this is more important than anything, because in order to communicate, you need to listen, right? That's part of the communication skills. So to answer your question, Bernadette, no, I wasn't thinking along those lines, but I don't know if it's a male-female thing, because people are now, a lot of people are now learning to integrate their feminine and masculine parts much better than they used to in the past, right? So I certainly didn't think of it when I was making the speech. So there you go. So same thing with all of these examples that I gave about where you can be a leader, where you know, as a parent, if you can let your child know why, you know, in the olden days we used to say, if the child says why, it's because I say so, right? but if we can actually explain to the child why doing this is important, or what they learn or what they gain out of doing something a certain way, I think we can avoid a lot of conflict in this life. Okay. I think I've gone through most of the examples, parents, citizens. I mean, again, example of going to your local leader, convincing them about what, you know, what is happening at the grassroots level and what the problems are, showing them your perspective. All those situations call for good communication. Now, the other thing I want to say is each of these situations calls for a different kind of communication, right? A CEO handing down a decision, even while explaining why or how or explaining their vision, the kind of communication they have to do is entirely different from the communication that, say, for example, a person giving a eulogy has to do, right? It is different from the kind of communication involved in a debate at Parliament, right? So each of these occasions calls for a different kind of communication. And if we can improve those skills, learn how to communicate, that would be, I think, for anyone who finds themselves in a situation where they have to help somebody else make the right decision or change a decision, I think learning to communicate is probably the best skill, or one of the most important skills, let me say, that we have to learn. So now, one of the reasons I came on the show is to talk about a club that I joined recently, the Toastmasters, which I think you have all heard about. I had heard about Toastmasters many, many years ago. And I, however, didn't have the time. Life was busy. 2 years ago, I went as a guest to one of the meetings. And what I found was that the meetings were incredibly well structured. There was an agenda and it was followed well. This is not something I expected. What I had thought about Toastmasters is that you just learn to give good speeches. Now, I wasn't too bad at giving speeches anyway. If I have the time to prepare, I can give a reasonably good speech. I just went out of curiosity. What I found there was that every speech is timed, every speech is evaluated. So when you evaluate a speech, it is given with so much kindness, so much respect, and so much encouragement that you're automatically inspired to give a better speech next time. And even when you have, when you think that you have given the most perfect speech, and the evaluator comes up and tells you what you did well, and you think, oh, I'm good. And then they give you a little challenge, next time I'd like you to do this. And you're thinking, darn, why didn't I think of that? Trust me, every single speech whether it is me giving the speech or somebody else giving the speech, when I hear the evaluator evaluating it, I'm just mind boggled, because I think, wow, there's no end to how much better you can make any speech. So the other thing that I didn't know at the time, I joined soon after, and then I found out that Toastmasters is not just about giving speeches. Toastmasters is about teaching communication, good communication, and leadership. So Toastmasters has this whole education program, and it's not a one size fits all. They have different pathways, and I have just brought it up on my other computer. I'll just read out the names of some of the pathways. There's a dynamic leadership, effective coaching, engaging humor, innovative planning, presentation mastery, team collaboration, strategic relationships. So these are just a few of the many. Visionary communication. So these are all different pathways along which you can go do some, you can learn and then give speeches, get evaluated, improve your skills. None of this is compulsory. There is no pressure whatsoever. There is no time limit. It's just fun. And the club I joined is one of the most wonderful clubs with very good people. We have a lot of fun at these meetings, and I have already improved the way I speak so much that I thought.
Can I jump in?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a guest at the local Toastmasters, and you're right, it's amazing. And what I found, and I'm pretty used to public speaking, so I was there as a guest, and I wasn't sort of prepared for all of the evaluation. But what I found too is that, to Afia's Chowdhury's earlier point, is it's a group that really listens. Like when you give a speech in front of a Toastmaster crowd, you've got a level of listening in there that is remarkable. And they're listening because they want to provide feedback, because they want to be helpful. It's a remarkable group. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you. Yes, yeah, and
very good group.
And one thing
I agree actually too, because I did go to a couple of meetings as well, Dr. Menon. Yeah, it's an amazing group.
Yes,
really
and they about the listening. Just in one of our recent meetings, we started a new role called the listening Quizmaster. So at the end of the days, so every day, every meeting, you may have 2 or 3 speeches, and at the end of that, the meeting, the listening Quizmaster asks you questions to see who has been listening well about something that was, what that people. So we just keep bringing things, doing things, making it fun, enjoying the meeting. And now with this whole COVID thing, see, there are some good things that come out of bad things, We are now meeting online on Zoom. And so anybody can join. It's free. Anybody is welcome to come on as a guest and watch us. And if you enjoy it, I'm sure you will feel like joining.
So Dr. Raji, I was gone for a little minute there. Which Toastmaster is it?
Seaway Toastmasters, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but there are two clubs in town. There's one in Akwesasne. So it's I'm just, when I found something really good that I treasure, I felt I had to share it. So I thought I will share it here and invite people to join us at one of our online meetings. If not, and we have had guests come in we had a lady come from Florida who's a Toastmaster there and just decided to attend one of our club meetings. And we have had other guests similarly from other clubs. And the consistent feedback we have got is that we have so much fun at our meetings. There's a lot of humor.
Definitely.
So I just wanted to bring that up. But more importantly, to conclude, what I wanted to say really, truly, is that every one of us is a leader in our lives. We all have the opportunity to influence others. And in order to do that really well, once we recognize that I am as much a leader as you are, I think what next is, it then becomes our responsibility to make sure we do a good job of it, and therefore learn how to do it. And I think learning communication, learning how to communicate is a very good first step. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to take any questions in the few minutes that we have left.
So people, you can go ahead and ask question in the comment box, and I will ask your questions to Dr. Raji.
Dr. Menon, I have a question about communication and leadership, and I wonder about how transparent we get to be. So we're in a leadership role, let's say, in the many roles that you've described, but we sometimes feel like we shouldn't reveal some of the feelings we have around stress or the difficulty of a situation. Is it to show weakness if you show, if you communicate that you are struggling with something? Do you know what I mean? Does that go against projecting leadership?
Not at all. I'm sure all of you have heard of Brené Brown's great TED Talk about vulnerability, right?
Absolutely.
So, however, there is a caveat there. You've got to be careful whom you reveal it to and under what circumstances and what you're revealing, right? There are still a lot of people who have the old patriarchal attitude towards everything, right? And it's hard to reveal vulnerability to someone who would not appreciate it or would think less of you because of that. Now, even though that is true, I think it's a short-term thing. In the long run, I think being honest is the right thing to do. How much you reveal, that depends on your what shall I say, your level of comfort. So, is it wrong to reveal? No. How much, where, when, why, how, and to whom? That is where the what shall I say, the judgment comes in, and you decide where, and I think at the end of the day, I remember a talk we were given when I was a medical student by one of our assistant professors, and he said, people don't love you for your perfection. They love you for your weakness.
Right?
Okay.
But that's very interesting, though. But there's a balance there.
Yes.
Because when you're in a leadership role, you don't want to display weakness, right?
No. But if you
want you to be authentic.
Yeah. And the thing is, but at the same time, when somebody sees that you have something, a kind of, let us say a fear of snakes or a fear of dogs or something that they can relate to, they actually like you better. Right? However, the wrong person can abuse that knowledge. So you remember when the German chancellor went to Russia, Vladimir Putin brought his dogs out because he knew she was afraid of dogs.
No.
Do you remember that? Did you anyone see that scene?
No.
Oh my goodness. It was horrendous. I mean, nothing happened, but just the tension in the air, seeing that he knew that she was afraid of dogs. And so he brings out these two big dogs to intimidate her at the beginning of the meeting.
Wow.
So this is why it's important to be careful what you reveal. And something you can't help it. I mean, I guess that's not something she could have hidden from him if other people knew about it, right? So sometimes, yes, it may work against you, but in the long run, I think it will always work in your favor.
Well, there's no further questions, and that is all the time we had. But thank you so much for coming to speak to us. And I'm going to definitely have to check out the Toastmasters because, public speaking is like, I'm good on camera like this, but in front of people, that's where
and that's the thing. I mean, you get evaluation on everything, on your eye contact, your body language, how you walk, everything. It's totally, please do come and watch us at least once and see how much fun we have. But come as many times as you want as a guest. I mean, especially when we're doing it online and even in person, as a guest, you can just come and watch whenever you like. So thank you all very much. And I hope the others on the call enjoyed it as well.
Well, you got a lot of thank yous. So yes, I think it was enjoyed. All right.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye, Ravi.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. And like she says, they assess you, but in a non-intimidating way. Like you feel very comfortable from what I saw at the meetings I went to. I didn't talk because I'm nervous about that too, but they assessed them in a really friendly way. It was great.
So Bernadette,
anyway,
I agree, Marlene.
Okay. No, I thought you were out of sync for a minute there, but you're good. Okay.
Nope, she's good. She's good. So how are we doing? I hope a lot of people are going through the show and
Yes, we've
enjoying that.
we've
Because
we've had
there's
an
about
average we've had an average of 35, 40 viewers. So they come and go, but it's like it's yeah, between 35 and 40 viewers constant. So that's good.
but I thought, but you have no idea right now assessing how many people are actually walking through the trade show because
No, that I cannot see. So that would be on the people's
on their own site.
feeds. They would be able to see how many people
Yeah.
are visiting. I can't tell, unfortunately, but I will be sending a follow-up email to the vendors to see how it
Mhm.
went and if they had a lot of traffic. And the code
Yeah.
is working now. So yes, I want to announce the code is
perfect.
working now. I fixed that while we were talking.
Perfect. Oh, I hear you doing a lot of clicking, so I know you're doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
over there.
somebody told me to mute my microphone because it's loud.
Yeah, a
when
lot of
I'm typing.
clicking. Look,
So
I gotta share something. It's always kind of cute because Julia, if she gets annoyed at something and she's writing something, you can hear that clicking just to go. So I hear it
Julia, do you
often.
get annoyed? Julia, do you get annoyed? No.
oh yes, I get annoyed. I get annoyed a lot. Like
Yeah, she gets annoyed. She'll write a message, then she'll have me read it, then we'll rewrite it. Yeah,
I have
a
low
lot of
tolerance
clicking.
for ignorance and
Yeah, lot of clicking going on at times, but it's all good. That's where Raji was saying about a partnership. We complement each other, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
That's
And over the years, I've become more like her, and she's become more like me. So we kind of,
Oh yeah,
you know,
we're meeting in the middle now, whereas we used to be on complete opposite ends. So yeah, over 10
I
years
like
we
that.
kind of coming together.
yeah,
And sometimes I actually, like she says, I become more like her and she becomes more like me, so we overlap a lot.
yep.
Yeah, we taught each other a lot.
How long is your partnership now? How long have you been working
So
together?
Bernadette, we were
Yeah.
celebrating in June our 10th year anniversary,
Oh my gosh.
and that's
And
gone. That's gone.
yeah, we were
were
going to be doing this, and that's why we were doing the Secret Awards, and we had the venue, Cornwall Golf Club, everything in place, and that all disappeared again. So
It was going to be
we're
a
gonna try
big party, but yeah, so it's postponed.
next year.
There'll be something else to market.
Yeah.
We're not going to forget that because that's a
Hey,
significant thing for our community too.
who knows? Maybe I'll find a way to Zoom a big
Do it
event
online.
catered.
Yeah. And I'll be there. I'm
Good.
very grateful to both of you.
All right. Well, we have one last guest, and this is a
Yeah.
light topic, which is good.
Now, this is a little bit of a different kind of scenario because Julie and I, on Monday mornings at 10 o'clock, started a little talk show called Monday Morning Motivation with the Seeker Chicks, kind of to motivate ourselves and everybody else because as the weeks go by, it gets a little harder every week. And last week, we were going to have a guest on, but due to different issues, we had to postpone our show. So instead, we've decided to bring him on this show. And I mean, whenever I did mention it, he said, "But I'm not a woman, as you might have noticed." I said, "Well, that's okay. We'll still bring you on so you can talk about what you do." And his partner is a woman, so it's still okay. But our next guest is Doug Stewart of Bonville Garden. There he is. And I met Doug quite a few years ago, and he's the kind of guy that you meet once and you feel that you've known him forever. He's very easy to talk to. But you don't think so?
Oh yeah, I met him for 2 minutes yesterday on the Zoom call just to test things, and I feel like I've known him forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Doug and a friend of his got together and they actually purchased Bonville Garden. So actually, Doug, if you wanted to tell us a little bit about your background and how that came to happen, because I know you're both from bigger cities and you ended up in little old Bonville. So talk about that.
Actually, Deb and I went to high school together in Montreal. It was a funny kind of a high school. It was called Mind High School. The MIND stands for Moving in New Directions. Oh, it looks like Bernadette has heard of it. So
Yeah,
there was,
I'm originally from Montreal. I've heard of it. Yeah.
there was a wide variety of people at Mind. Let's just say it's like that. But two of them were Deb and I, and we dated a little bit back in high school, but kind of lost contact with each other. She moved back down to the U.S. I worked in Montreal, and I did a lot of traveling, and I ended up in Alberta for several years. But we got together again, and I think both of us were starting to, let's say mature. And and we decided that it was time to, find a nice property in the country. And because we both love gardening, we both love fresh air, we love pets, and it's kind of what we decided to do at this point. We both had a lot of options and this and that, but this is what we decided to do. And there's been no looking back. It's been 5 years that we're here now.
Wow.
Yeah, so you found it's a perfect little property. I was up there about a week ago because I needed some hanging baskets, and I ended up coming back with a trunk full. Thank you, Doug. He kept loading them in there, and I was not going to even have a single hanging basket this year, but that suddenly changed. No, it's beautiful. It's you kind of go out there and you feel like you're in another world. You've got a perfect little farmhouse. You've got your greenhouses and everything. So what do you actually grow out there?
Well, you know what? It's a little bit different every year because we're I think gardening is the kind of thing where you keep on learning, you keep on getting better and better, and sometimes you make mistakes and you might stop doing something but continue with what you do the best. And what I started with, my first product was garlic, and it's now still the biggest part of my crops. I love growing garlic. It's a very easy crop to grow. It doesn't want you to do anything. It just wants you to put the seed in the ground, really, and ignore it. Well, you got to do the weeding, though. As long as you do the weeding.
That's a lot of work, though.
That's one of the things. But garlic is not demanding like my other major product, which is tomatoes. Tomatoes are very finicky, and they need to be pruned. They need to be watered just right, not too much, not too little. They need to have some of the right fertilizers put in. Like tomatoes are very hungry for calcium, and if you don't put enough calcium, you're going to have little brown spots in your tomatoes. Different produce has different needs, and I find the garlic, to me, has been working very, very well, and I think most people who try garlic really enjoy it. So between garlic, tomatoes, and raspberries, those are my three favorite things to grow that I grow the most of. And those are the things that I sell small amounts of. And then we grow a bunch of other things, like we grow a lot of herbs. I love growing herbs. We don't really sell it. We sell a little bit of dried herbs once in a while for fun, but I mostly do it for my own health. I think it's the best way to get your vitamins. I grow the basics like parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. We also grow tarragon, which I love. We grow a lot of chives. Chives are another thing that's I find very, very easy to grow, very beautiful, and you can eat them anytime. I pick them out all day long and eat them. And
they flower, don't they? Don't chives flower don't they have a beautiful flower too?
Beautiful purple flowers. Ours are starting. Our first flowers are blooming right now in the chive plants, and they'll bloom for quite a while, on and off. It'll go for about a month almost of these beautiful purple flowers. And of course, the flowers, they lose their seeds, they drop in the ground, and then you have more plants that come from that next year. So when you have a patch of chives, it's very easy to keep it going. It's not as invasive as like mint, which people know if they have any mint, before you know it, the mint covers the whole backyard. The chives will keep themselves going, and they'll stand up for themselves, but they won't really take over your entire backyard like some other plants, like dandelions.
Oh yeah, and dandelions. That was very interesting because while I was out there, Doug was nibbling away at his herbs because he's very sure that because he eats so many herbs, the coronavirus is never going to touch him because that's going to keep it all away. But then I was looking at the dandelion, so I said, "Have you ever eaten one of these?" He goes, "No." Here, let me try it. So I tried it too, but it wasn't quite what I thought. Because again, you can do a lot of things with dandelions, right? It
You
seems to
know,
be
a
the
lot
in
of,
thing right now.
you know what? I've never, for some reason, I just never had I don't know. I've never made it in with the dandelions. But what I do harvest, and what I've got drying right now, I have a little herb dryer. It's like it heats things a little bit, and it has a fan, so it dries things out. And
Mhm.
I just harvested yesterday some stinging nettles, which, if people are familiar with stinging nettles, they're a weed. Well, a
Right.
weed. Most people think of them as a weed, and they have
Mhm.
these little pickly things on them. And when you touch them, it makes you itch for about a half an hour,
Mhm.
and then it goes away. So they're called stinging nettles, and they grow all over the place wild. So we started last year harvesting some, and we dried them, and we made nettle tea out of it. And we happened to,
Ah,
and Deb and I noticed that, because I mean, we heard about people doing it, but we noticed that every time we drank a little bit of this nettle tea, we felt really good for a few hours. We felt really like healthy and strong. And then we didn't harvest very much, and we had a little bit of this tea, and after a while it was finished. But I've been reading ever since on the internet that nettles are considered to be a superfood
oh,
by some
wow.
people. So I'm making more nettle tea right now, and I bet you there's a lot of anybody who lives in the country could go around their property and look for nettles, and
How do
that
you
would be
harvest that? How do you harvest that without
you just
injury?
pick off the top of the plant, because you want the young leaves right at the top of the weed.
Oh,
So I pick
okay.
off the top inch and a half, and I have a basket. I pick off the tops, throw them in the basket, and then I put them in a dryer because I have one. But you could just leave them hanging up in your house, and they would dry. It would just take about probably 10 or 12 days or something. But
So we have
with
whoops, sorry about that. We have a question from a viewer who's asking, how do you plant garlic?
planting garlic, you take the clove and break it into pieces. You take the bulb and you break it into the cloves, and you take each individual clove and place it in. I usually put it down about an inch and a half, about 2 inches maybe into the ground, and I do it around Canadian Thanksgiving. So you have to have a bed that's all made up and all cleaned and weeded and fluffed up, and planted around Canadian Thanksgiving. And after planting, I cover it with about 3 or 4 inches of hay. And then by around April 20th or so, you'll see shoots sticking up out of the hay. The garlic is always the toughest thing to come up. It'll come up, you have a couple inches of hay, but the garlic will push through.
Wow.
Oh.
And you won't get any weeds until the garlic is usually about maybe 8 or 10 inches high. Then the weeds will start. The weeds are not as tough, they're not as strong as the garlic. So having the hay on there really slows the weeds down again. And you don't have to do very much weeding. If you have good hay coverage covering the entire bed, you don't have too many weeds. You don't have to really water unless if you don't get rain for maybe 3 weeks, you could give a bit of water. But if we just went through at least 2 weeks of no rain, and I didn't water my garlic at all, not once. And it's beautiful and green, and it's coming up really nice. So I find it's a very easy plant to keep going.
Yeah,
Easier than most
And
other plants.
for somebody like me who kills everything, like
yeah,
I
she
have the
does.
furthest thing away from a green thumb. Like I kill chive. Like
You
Okay,
know what?
Julia, the question is, how is I gave Julia 2 of those hanging baskets because I felt
they're
like I wanted to be the flower fairy that day, but how are they doing? You didn't kill them,
they're
did you?
they're doing okay so far, so good.
Okay,
There you go.
Somebody is
good.
asking if you can plant the garlic in a container.
When I plant in containers, I don't like to put a container on a patio. Because I mean, unless it's like a little flower, if it's something small, because I do have some containers of garlic. I've got mostly in my big beds, but I've also got a couple of containers. But I make a big hole in the bottom of the container so that the roots can go right through and go into the ground. Because I don't like to be God. I don't study enough to know exactly every nutrient that the garlic needs at every stage of its growth. I don't really know. I know that most of those things are in the ground. And if the garlic roots can't find it in my container, if there's a huge hole, like a big hole in the bottom, the roots can go into the ground and look for it. So I don't have to know that I've provided absolutely everything that the garlic needs. I would only plant a food crop in a large container with a lot of soil. To put it in a small container, you're almost always going to be missing things. You know, for flowers, of course, if you're missing this or missing that, it's not as key. But to get good food, you want to have all the good nutrients in the soil.
Are people more interested in certain crops right now because of the pandemic? Like, are you finding that people are more interested in gardening or more interested in certain foods? Is there any change?
Yeah, I don't know if there's certain food changes. I know that there are more people that are planting, especially planting vegetable gardens. I mean, it's taking off in popularity for sure, faster than I ever would have imagined. I think that staples are like tomatoes and lettuce and stuff like that. I don't know if that's changed at all. I know that there are quite a few garlic growers because garlic is one of the most universal foods. It's food that's in every culture all over the world. It's eaten everywhere. It'll grow absolutely anywhere. So I think it's something that's a staple for people to grow. I mean, those are staples things that I grow. Garlic, tomatoes, and raspberries are all pretty basic. Some of the other things.
Yeah, that's the best trifecta right there. Come on, that's a top three.
I can tell you one thing. What was that, Maylee?
No, I was just going to say he doesn't grow normal tomatoes though. They're heirloom tomatoes. They're very different.
All of my tomatoes are a little bit weird. They're orange or purple or yellow or multicolored or shaped like a football or something. We don't really grow any if you want a regular round red tomato, there's plenty of places you can find that, but you can't find it here.
Wow. Okay.
Somebody is asking, can you grow ginger?
You know what? There are a couple. There's one product, one produce that I just started now, which is along those lines, which is asparagus. I just planted it. It's shooting up. I got it. I got the roots from a big place in Quebec that sells that. Another product that I always wanted to grow, but I've never started, is ginger. And another one is horseradish. Those are all produce that are perennial. They'll keep coming back. You take a little bit and it'll keep you young and healthy. And I really should be growing them. And maybe one day I will, but you can't do everything all at once, unfortunately.
Now, there's one thing that you do, Doug, and it's a little bit different because I know there's usually the little nursery rhyme, Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? Everybody knows that. Well, it grows a lot better with the soil amendment that Doug works with. And I believe this is something that you came up with, right? The soil science?
Yeah.
So can you just tell us about that? Because if that, other than your the produce that you grow, that is your big thing, right?
Well, what I'm trying to become a soil amendment business. Like I'm trying, and unfortunately, I'm too lazy to go and make sales calls. But I do have the amendments. Making sales calls is tough. I used to be a salesman.
By soil amendment, what do you mean? What is a soil amendment first? For people
A
who may
soil
not know.
amendment is what you would call a natural fertilizer. When you have a chemical fertilizer, you're using it to amend the soil. It's something that you're adding on to the soil. When you're talking about natural products, though, the word soil amendment is more used than natural fertilizer, but the words are really interchangeable. I would like what I really would like to do is tell people about the specific amendments that I have chosen to use. And I have 6 soil amendments that I keep in stock that I sell individually, and I mix them all together into one product that I call Soil Science, which is a kind of an all-purpose fertilizer that anybody can use on any plant, because most plants use the same nutrients. They use them in different levels. Some plants need more zinc, some plants need more copper, but they all need a little bit of zinc and a little bit of copper. So I made my soil science amendment that is to be sure that it has a little bit of everything, so that any amateur gardener that is not going out and doing an official soil test and all that type of thing can just know that they have their fertilizer. They can sprinkle it on at the beginning of the year, sprinkle it on a little bit as the summer goes on, and they'll be pretty sure to have very healthy, vigorous plants.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, maybe that'll help.
We developed it here. Deb and I developed it just by trying this and trying that, and seeing how it worked on our plants, and by reading about and watching YouTube videos, University of YouTube, where there's all kinds of conflicting information. But if you add it all together, you kind of can get a hint of what's going on over a lot of effort.
We have another question here. My son is a budding gardener. He has planted cauliflower. Any tips for him to be successful?
You know what? Cauliflower is another. Cauliflower is in the Brassica family, as I understand. I've grown broccoli, and my wife said we're going to have worms, and that's why I never grow broccoli. And lo and behold, we had worms on our broccoli. And you pick them off in the field, you wash them, and then you know what? You're in the kitchen and you're getting ready to eat, and you realize, oh my God, there's still a worm.
Oh. Is it
so you know what?
that...
I don't grow broccoli. I don't grow cauliflower.
Is it true that broccoli you have to kind of keep under something for the color to?
I didn't.
No?
We had ours. We have full sun where we are. We're like farmland, and if basically everything is full sun here. So I don't ever cover things from the sun. If it doesn't want full sun, somebody else has to grow it. I grow full sun, and most food wants full sun.
Yeah.
Broccoli, maybe if I covered it, maybe I wouldn't have the worms. I don't know.
So somebody is asking, how do you keep squirrels out of your garden?
Oh, that's a good one.
I went into Montreal yesterday and I planted gardens for my sister and my brother, and they live in the city and they have squirrels. Here on our property, we have one chipmunk. We call him Mr. Chips, and he scurries around. Every once in a while, one of our cats catches him. He's been in the house. But we don't have any squirrels here. Squirrels are a city problem. I know that people do all kinds of things and they put nets and this and that. The only thing that I know that a lot of people have used and works is chicken manure. Now, one of the products that I sell is chicken manure, which is an excellent source of nitrogen and a few micronutrients. As soon as you toss a little bit of chicken manure on your plants, everything grows, everything goes fast. And squirrels don't like the smell, and it can help to keep squirrels away.
So
But
there
if
you
you
have
live in
it.
a place with a lot of squirrels,
Does that smell keep humans away too, or?
it doesn't smell that bad. you can smell it, but it's not. It's the chicken manure. What I use is it's a commercially made organic product. It comes from all the huge chicken growers that have chickens for eggs. That grow chickens to make eggs. They take all the manure. It gets delivered to somewhere in eastern Quebec, I think Valleyfield or something, and they dry it. It takes them 48 hours to dry it. They squash it into pellets, and they sell it. It's a very widely sold product. They sell it to Rona Hardware. They sell it to everybody.
Right.
All the big everybody sells this product. It's a very, very good product, and it apparently keeps squirrels away.
Cool. Doug, can we go back to tomatoes for one moment? Because since you spoke about tomatoes, I've been picturing, a tomato sandwich with a little salt and pepper and a little mayo. What's the best tasting tomato that you grow?
My favorite tomato of the ones that I've grown is called Cherokee Purple, and it's a big, lumpy, purple tomato that that could look a little bit scary sometimes, but it tastes like candy. I absolutely love them.
Wow.
It's especially early in the season. Later on, as the season goes, it seems that they lose some of their flavor. But early in the season, you can't beat the Cherokee Purple tomato.
Cherokee Purple. So do you have some growing now?
I've got them growing. I've been selling them to people, so I'm not the only one growing them. There's I think over time there's going to be more and more Cherokee Purple tomatoes in Eastern Ontario.
I'm going to check that
So
out.
can people actually come out to you and buy the plants, Doug? Or do they just buy tomatoes, or how does that work? Because I don't think you actually sell all the plants to people at the beginning of the season, do you?
Well, we always sell some. I don't have very much left right now. I've got a few tomato plants left. What's happened is that if I haven't sold it by the end of May, I will find somewhere to plant it on my own property. We're not selling tons, that's for sure. But, there's a picture of Cherokee Purple right there.
Is that what it is? Julie is very good at finding pictures.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
It looks different, eh?
That is so cool, Julia. Okay. Yeah.
This particular one,
God.
I don't know if that's from our website, but that's
Nah, just Google the Cherokee Purple because I wanted to grab an image right quick.
well, they picked the most normal looking ones.
Really, eh?
To show people, yeah. They come out very lumpy, and they get a lot of slits in them. And you can see some of these are more purple looking on top. They get out very lumpy. A lot of the best tomatoes are not uniform looking. Look at those ones.
There's a lesson in that, Doug.
Yeah.
There's a lesson in that.
That was great. I think we're at the end of our time. So
before I let him go, though, where exactly are you located in Bonneville? In case anybody wants to come up, do you still have a little greenhouse, a garden, like a place where you can sell the stuff, or how does one get the stuff from you?
We were set up on the highway, but I live right east of the highway, the first house in from the highway on the east side of downtown Bonneville. And we sell out of our homes right now. We're basically open on the weekends. Deb and I both work part-time during the week, so we're basically open on the weekends. And people can check out our website at bonnevillegarden.ca, and they can send us an email from there. They can check out our soil amendments. Our soil amendments are all linked, like the alfalfa, the wollastonite, the seaweed. You can read about them on our website. We have it all linked to our suppliers. So if people are curious, they can read what's how they can fix up their soils.
Perfect.
Wonderful. And at this point in time too, I mean, gardening is so therapeutic. I know that's something I do too, just to get away from the computer, get away from stuff. And I'm sure you're feeling that too. So Let's see how many people come to visit you in downtown Bon Vegas.
Bonville.
Yeah, therapeutic
Right.
for you to say.
Well, it is
It's
therapeutic. I love
Frustrating
gardening.
for me.
Just
it's
picking the
it's the best
weeds and
exercise
playing
you
I
can
with
do.
get it,
soil.
Julia. I get it.
But I mean, that's what you find too. It's therapeutic. Like you say, you have other jobs, and this, I'm sure,
Yeah.
is so relaxing.
It's relaxing and it's fun and it's fabulous to see the stuff come up and to get the first produce that comes off, like the first tomatoes, the first raspberries. It's always so much fun that it actually worked. Hey, look, it's coming.
Yeah.
Even Julia could do it,
And
I'm
like,
sure. If you try.
I
like you say,
successfully grew a tomato plant last year, and I had about, I want to say 4 tomatoes, and man, they tasted so good, and I was so proud. It's the first time I was able to
There you
do
go.
anything like that. So
Exactly.
my cucumbers, not too good though.
No? Yeah. Don't water the cucumbers.
No.
That's the trick is don't water them. Do not water them. If you water them,
Okay,
they
good
won't
to
grow.
know. Yeah, it was all
wow.
weird shaped and yellow, and it was like yay big. It was, and it tasted so awful. I tried it just in case, but it tastes real bad.
Well,
So,
thank you
anyways,
so much, Doug.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
have a
It's been
great
lot of fun.
day. All
Thank
A
right.
lot of great information. And if anybody needs more information, get a hold of Doug at bonvillegarden.ca.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
All right.
Well, that was actually very interesting, and it was the first time that I got to eat a dandelion because he ate one. I said, "Well, it can't be that bad." So I ate the leaf, but the flower, no. I
Yeah.
don't think
No?
I can be eating those things. They say dandelion tea is very good for you, though. So
Yeah.
no,
Supposedly, yeah.
try it next time. Pick it and try and eat the flower. It's not. It's a little bitter. It's
Maybe you
not
needed
good.
some dressing. You needed some dressing on it.
Yeah,
You know,
probably.
garlic
Because they
dressing.
say
Yeah.
a lot of people are putting that in their salads, and they're saying it's great. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's it for us. The time is up. I hope the vendors had a great time. I was trying to go on the map while you guys were chatting and looking at some of the live streams. So this was happening, and it was nice to see. And I want to thank you.
But basically, before we let anybody go, the map is going to be there for quite a while. So you can still go on it at any time. You won't be able to talk to the people, but you will be linked to their Facebook or their websites. And yeah, so you can still get a hold of people. We're going to keep it there for a while.
Yeah, so you can keep on going to shop and support our local vendors.
Yeah.
And
And
Bernadette,
as well,
thank you
Oh, no. This was
for being our
amazing.
co-host today. I hope you had
and
fun.
I'm so glad you got to hear Dr. Menon, because I knew at one point you could actually hear her. It was good.
Yes, yes. I just, you know what? I did the usual thing. You click off and then you come back on. And then it works.
That usually works.
No, it was wonderful. I always enjoy partnering and participating in anything that the two of you do.
Thank you.
And small business, you exemplify what is best about small business, right? Creativity and inclusivity. You have always included a great diversity of people and ideas, and I'm grateful to both of you. I had a great time today. Thank you.
You so much.
So that's basically what we're at, all about the seeker. It's all about finding the gems of Cornwall, seeking them out, and helping promote them, right?
Yeah, it's all good. And I'm glad that you're keeping those links up because all of those businesses that participated, and not just businesses, because you have local organizations there that are also trying to get known and that are doing great community work. So really people should go and check that throughout the next few days.
And local restaurants as well, just so everybody knows, you can still order your food and contact them too. So
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you for watching, people. That's all for us for today. Don't hesitate. If you have any questions or comments, just send us an email at info@theseeker.ca. And Mylise and I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for our Monday morning motivation.
Motivation.
All right. Bye, people.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.